USA Warrior Stories is a not-for-profit organization designed to record, archive, and share videos of veteran stories, to help veterans make a connection with one another and to help us all better understand their sacrifices for our freedoms.
All right, my name is Claude Perasso, born and raised here in San Francisco. I just finished my 99th year. Next week I start my 100th year. Well, basically I'm here because I was born here. All right, and tomorrow there's going to be a dedication honoring American Merchant Marine mariners who served during World War II in the Pacific who lost their lives. I spent my time during WW2 in the Pacific War Zone. 1944, March or April, I was a senior in high school at St. Ignatius College Prep School. And I was called into the office of the president. I walked in there and he said to me, "Perasso, you are not going to graduate." I was surprised, you know, a month or 2 months away. And I said, "Why not?" And he said, "Because you've not taken either one of two courses which are required for graduation." I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Physics and chemistry."
The simple ones.
Yeah, so at any rate, I figured, well, I could be able to accomplish those, either of those feats between now and the time graduation, which I won't be graduating. So I packed my books, took them home, and I lived in the marina. Now, the San Francisco Port of Embarkation is Fort Mason, and that's in the marina. And I knew the port captain because he was a customer of my father's. So I dumped my books in the home, and I walked to Fort Mason to see Captain Berry. He was commander then. And he said, "You want to sail?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, go down to Coast Guard headquarters on Sansom Street. Tell them you want to be an ordinary seaman." And there's nothing lesser than an ordinary seaman. So I went down there, 17 years old. They said, "You want to sail?" "Yeah." So boom, boom, boom. I ended up with a document. I went back to see Commander Berry. And he said, "You see that troop ship over there?" I said, "Yes." "You're on it. Go." Ta-da, okay. Well, at any rate, I'd been a Sea Scout, not a Boy Scout. And I thought I knew a lot about seafaring, which I didn't. I went on that ship and we sailed off to the Southwest Pacific, the war zone. My first job was to chip paint. Those things are a lot of gray paint and they tend to rust. And you get a chipping hammer, and you whack, 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 and all that paint that has rust under it comes off, and you get a wire brush, and you brush it, brush it, brush it, and you get first you get red lead, and you paint that over it, and when that dries, you paint it gray. That was a big ship. Not long thereafter, I got a bridge watch, a 4 to 8 watch, which is that's the best. You get every sunset and every sunrise, and it's the navigator's watch. So you see these people shooting the stars and all that stuff with sextants. And I did that for a number of months. I enjoyed every minute of it. I mean, you stand behind the wheel for 4 hours watching a gyroscope repeater to keep a course. Every once in a while you doze a little bit, and well, you're supposed to keep one over the other or one under the other. And when you lose track of that, you start bringing the wrong one in line with the other one. And the ship will start turning, or that way, left or right. And you catch it soon, I hope. and you correct. At any rate, at 17, you're non-compass mentis. You don't understand what the heck is this whole picture means. So you enjoy the days, and I say I saw every sunset, every sunrise. I watched the navigating officers shooting the stars at night or early morning when they can get a star and a horizon, or navigate by dead reckoning if it was cloudy and you couldn't get either of those things to refer to. I made it to able-bodied seaman after about 6 months. Well, that's where you get your basic feel of the thing, and I enjoyed it. You're oblivious to the rest of this stuff. I was informed that after 13 months in a war zone, you can apply for OCS, Officers Candidate School, which is a 4-month program, not like Kings Point or those places which are 4-year programs, or Cal Maritime. So I applied and I got in. And 2 months in there, in August of '45, Japan surrendered. Germans already surrendered a year before. And my story now is, do you know why Japan surrendered in August of 1945? And people say, yeah, the atom bombs of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I said, no. And they say, why? They heard I was coming back as an officer. That's my story, and I'm stuck with it.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
First voyage, you remember the ship's name?
Oh, sure, the David C. Shanks.
First ship.
The David C. Shanks. I was on there for over 14 months. And we sailed to, the first port out would be Hawaii, and you'd pick up and offload people, either soldiers or medical people, Red Cross workers, that kind of thing. And off to New Guinea. New Guinea still had a whole lot of Japanese there. But MacArthur sort of went through New Guinea, bypassing a lot of fortifications, and Japanese, figuring he would starve them out, and was heading for the Philippines. So we were going up and down the coast of New Guinea to these various, what would you call them? Well, posts, or because a lot of those people had been in the jungle for a year, or that kind of stuff. And so you bring in a new complement of troops. They pull these people out, and we would take them either to Brisbane, Australia, Auckland, New Zealand, or Noumea, New Caledonia. We'd be going back and forth doing that. When you get down to New Guinea, then you know there's a war on. Because at night, we'd be in one of these ports along the east coast of New Guinea, and the PT boats, the motor torpedo boats, would pull up alongside, tie up, come aboard to have a meal. And then those boats were out there all the time and always looking for gray paint, because their paint jobs would be diminished a lot. We'd give them gray paint, and they would take us for a ride.
So were you in convoy at points in time, convoys going across in the Pacific with troops?
Never, no.
Convoys at all?
No, the fastest convoy only goes as fast as the slowest ship. And when you have a convoy, some ships won't do 5 knots. Well, on the troop ship, that did 17. And you'd take off from San Francisco, which you have a lot of cover, air cover, because you didn't know if there was a Jap submarine out there. And the Japanese were not big in submarines. They're big in kamikazes. Anyway, once you get out there, going out, you do a zigzag, which they're not familiar what the plan is, which way you're going to zig and which way you're going to zag and when. So we never had a problem going out, but you'd be doing a zigzag for quite a while. Once you get out there, that's a big ocean. You just put it up to 17 and you go. Every once in a while, if you bump into a large fish, that would set the alarms off. No, I mean, you would. And people say, no, it's just a fish. It's not a torpedo. Yippee.
So did you ever hit any heavy seas, any kind of stories of
Oh, a lot of seas.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, yes. That's the nature of the animal. One time we're going into Brisbane with a load of soldiers coming out of New Guinea for R&R. And to go into Brisbane, Australia, there's the Great Barrier Reef, and there's a passage to get into Brisbane. And we're out there 4 or 5 days just doing this. You're headed into the wind, try to maintain your position without being pushed back, because you want to get into this opening in the reef, and the waves would come up, your bow would go up, and then on the other side, those ships are all flat bottomed. When the wave passed you, go down, boom, and the whole thing would, and the stern would come up, and that's where the propeller is, and the ship would go, I mean, for 4 or 5 days. But hey, at 17, you figure that, no, yeah, you know,
It's good to be 17.
it helps to know it's good to be 17, you bet. You bet. We'd offload in a barge war materials, guns and ammo and stuff, after the troops left. And you go ashore, and they have a perimeter. That's what I meant. And the perimeters, a lot of perimeters up and down the east coast of New Guinea. Went ashore, and somebody drives in on a Jeep with a mounted machine gun, lets somebody off. The next perimeter is about a mile up. And he said, hey, I'm going back up there. Anybody want to ride with me? Hey, 17, sure. Now, if anybody shoots it, I shoot back at him with this thing back here. Yeah. I say, hey, why not? Hey, big deal. I'm still 17 mentality. We go up there, all is well. He says, okay, goodbye. Well, he wasn't going to come back. So now I've got about a mile of beach to get back to this perimeter. So I decided I'm going to walk back. And about halfway down, I see what's something that looks like an anomaly up along where the forest comes down to the sand. So I walk up there, and here's a dead Japanese with his belly blown out. I said, oh, jeez, I better go back quick. So I get back to the waterline, and I hustle back. You know, I mean, stuff like that. Then you understand there's a war on. And no, it was an experience, never to be forgotten. Well, as I say, I qualified for OCS. So I went in there, did the 4 months, came out as an officer. The war was over by then. I now was on a different ship, a ship that the Army Transport Service took over from the Navy or the Coast Guard, I don't know which. It was the APA 24 or 240, 24, whatever it was. Big twin stack vessel. We took it in the shipyard, had it modified to carry dependents. And that took a lot of modifications. I mean, from troops, big open spot with a lot of bunks. I mean, lots of stacked high. To families. We take their cars and their baggage and take them to the Philippines, Hawaii, Japan.
Did you ever see any action at all, like kamikazes hitting other boats or
No, we were
attacks or anything?
never. We never got, because we'd be in a lot of different ports where the night before, they were hit, or we'd hear that after we left, they got hit.
Aftermath or something, right?
Yeah, oh, sure, because they were all enforcing or reinforcing our troops that were stationed in these perimeters. There's still a lot of Japanese up in the mountains. And they had cannibals up there, cannibals. Oh, yeah. And many years after the war, these Japanese who survived all that would come out and find out that the war was over. They didn't know the war was over. They had no communication. For them, the war was on until hell froze over.
What year did you sail until? When did you actually come out of the Merchant Marine?
I sailed until December 5, 1946.
And what was your rate?
I was a third officer on this big ship. I loved that life. And one day, in December of 45, my dad was told that he had ulcers, and the doctor was going to him in the hospital, you're going to take the ulcers out. Okay. So my dad drove himself to the hospital, parked his car, checked in. The next morning, they took him to the OR, opened up, it was full of cancer. They sewed him up, closed. 5 days later, he was dead. He was 68 years old, young guy, compared to, anyway. And he kept telling me during those last few days, you got to stop what you're doing. And I really loved what I was doing. I mean, it was a great way to spend a day. And I said, do what? He said, go to college. Right across the street is USF. And study what? Well, study accounting. You can always change. What are you going to do? Say no to your dying father? I mean, hello. So I started in January of 47 as an accounting major. You had to take a course in business law. Whoa, that was interesting stuff. So I finished that and went into law school. 3 years later, I finished in 2.5. I came out a lawyer. And eventually, I spent 15 years in the public defender's office. After 15 years there, I got a call from the governor's office. He made me a judge, municipal court. And I did that for about 2 years. He called me again, made me a Superior Court judge in 74. And when I turned 80, I figured that's enough. I stopped. And since 80, for the last almost 19 years next week, I've been retired. I've worn a lot of hats in my day. A lot. But all interesting, yeah.
Today you're wearing the Merchant Marine hat proudly, right?
That's right. That's right. That started it all. After being thrown out of high school.